original members, Carlos P. Romulo being the president of the General Assembly, is doing its darndest best. But the UN has the veto of the Big Five.
Yeah.
Russia, Britain, France, China, and the United States, of course. And for as long as the Big Five are not on the same page, nothing will happen. There's no enforcement capability of the UN unless the Big Five gives its yes. And that's the political reality that we face on the ground. That's the reason why let us go regional. ASEAN now would be our best bet. But even ASEAN is not ASEAN then. There are different really, we're getting different core interests of ASEAN. But it's something which is a first step towards removing all the artificial barriers of ASEAN 10. So eventually, we now have the economic community, ASEAN political security community, so we will no longer have 10 armies, 10 Marines, 10 Air Force. We will have only one ASEAN armed forces. But that's something to be desired. But it's like being a good man, it's something, it's like some North Star, something that you should aspire for. But yes, now that we have a very young lady here, I would like to admonish you, young people, to read only the books, the articles of scholars. Because scholars do not have an agenda, they do not belong to any political group, they don't have any political color, and so read our books. This is your best basis for what would be your position and your articulation on many, many issues. You read scholars' titles.
Yes, and then the social media is actually complicating many perspectives now. The Dunning-Kruger, where the experts are seemingly quiet, but the non-experts are, very noisy, and the voice of the scholars are lost in the wilderness. It's a very sad reality of social media. Even if it actually makes a very porous society, it also miseducates a lot, especially those who do not have the critical thinking enough to make them go to some good sources or empirical data, all available also in the same space. So that's the sad part of it. And how do you, of course, we will ask our panelists, our reactors to also ask Professor, your reaction we can suspend later, but for questions, because we want to make the full use of Professor Carlos's presence.
Yeah. So Karen, let me support that one. All the articulations of scholars like us, they're all data-driven, they're evidence-based. If the evidence is absent, we shut up.
Correct.
That's how it is. That's why the best role really today is to be a scholar, because if there's no data supporting then you just zip out your mouth. I don't have anything to say. And if the data are colliding, then you say, oh, the data are colliding, so I don't know. It's not criminal to say, I don't know, Carl. People say, but ayaw mo sabihin hindi mo alam.
It's not even stupid to say.
Yeah, kasi pag i-interview ka, and somebody, an anchor asked me a stupid question, sabi ko, teka, palagay ko ba masasagot mo niyan kung ikaw ang tinanong ko? Ganun ba?
There's such a thing as intellectual humility, which is lost in among many seemingly intelligent people around us. So this is actually this conversation. CBRC staged this so that we can really bring, a different lens into looking at the same thing. You know how to make a hologram? A hologram is created by taking pictures of something from different perspectives and flashing the same picture, projecting the same picture from where it was taken. And when the lights converge, it will actually project an image that looks so real. I think that's what we need. If we really want to see the whole picture, the good picture, or even a seemingly true picture, we have to take it from different perspectives and project it and appreciate it. Because indeed, God probably gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth, because we have to listen twice as much as we talk. And it's really nice hearing it from diba? Ayan, that's anatomy talking to us. Alam mo, Professor, sabi nila biological science seems to be well understood now. That's why diseases are cured, healed, remedy for cancers, diabetes, and so on are forthcoming, because biological science is so well understood. But it's social science which seemingly is not well understood. Somebody would like to ask a question before a question from our panelists. Yes, our student from Wesleyan College. Just press it once.
Hi po. So, good morning po. My name is Genesis from
Genesis.
Genesis.
Super...
Come here, Genesis. Be here. The first book.
Hi po. Good morning po. My name is Genesis from the Supreme Student Council of Balita College of the Philippines. And I would like to ask how important it is for educators to provide guidance and support to help students process the impact of contemporary war on their mind, as this student will be future leader of the world.
Yes.
Well, the quick and dirty answer is that do not give the predicates to your student. Do not provide the predicates to the student. Do not give questions of how, when, what. Ask questions about why and so on. No? Alam ko, ba't kayo nagbibigay yung mga tinatawag ninyong mga yes or no, mga true or false? Hindi ako nagbibigay ng ganyung exam. Lahat ng exam to essay. No? Alam ko, mahirap ka.
Alam ba sagot mo? Kasi minsan tamad yung teachers mo check. Mas madaling i-check ang objective time.
Please, ang dinidevelop nyo sa K-12 is critical analysis. Do not provide the predicates of the student. No? Meron mga nakalagay doon na martial law is, the worst time in history. Nobody has done any scientific assessment of 21 years of Marcos.
Is that something you want to do now?
That is something I've been wanting to do because so many are giving wild assessments about 21 years of Marcos. And I only started, I wrote for my dissertation, by the way, so nunod ako sa
How much money do we need to make that assessment? Let's talk about it. Nasa si Sir Maynard. Sir Maynard, pagtulong-tulungan na natin to. No, because I'm really itching to have a scholar's perspective of it. Kasi ang daming available pero only from their lens.
Yeah, because whenever you write an autobiography, and Ville, si Honasan, hindi pa nga nagsulat yan, Cory Aquino, si Ramos, an autobiography, hindi mo nilalagay yung taglawak mo doon. Nilalagay mo yung guwapong-guwapo ka. And usually you lie. Nagsisinungaling ka doon. So, dapat kasi scholar na magsulat kasi po wala po kaming agenda. I don't belong to any political group. Wala akong political color. I worship in the altar of science. That's who I am. That's who we are as scientists, as scholars. Dapat kami po yung susulat ng 21 years of Marcos. Kami po yung magsiset ng criteria for assessment. Saka po sa dulo, meron kami conclusion on foreign policy, on agriculture, on health, etc.
It's moving forward.
Yes. And you cannot just make a sweeping conclusion about Marcos in regard to just martial law. Of course, there were military and police atrocities. You have to admit that kasi yun ang sinasabi ng data mo. But at the same time, you have foreign policy, you have health, you have bureaucracy. It's only Marcos who reformed the bureaucracy, who had the political courage to reform the bureaucracy. That's why I wrote a book on bureaucratic reform, which no one president had the political courage to undertake. Diba? So you need a scholar's story about this. Because a scholar's prism is using the prism of science. It is not using any prism which is whatever color. Hindi siya tabingi eh. Iba kasi pag tabingi o kaya may conclusion ka na tapos pinipili-pili mo lang yung susuporta ng conclusion. I don't know, that's not science card. I think that's propaganda.
Yeah.
Di ba?
And that's confirmation science. Confirmation bias at its
Confirmation
best.
bias. Yung pinipili-pili mo lang yung tapos na guwapo.
Okay, come on, not as a scientist. I want to ask this question as a beauty queen to you. This is a Miss Universe question. If you have a magic wand and you will solve the current wars happening elsewhere in the world, how will that wand change and stop this war for peace? Miss Universe question.
I think one of the best routes towards shifting their mindsets is to move it away from conflicts between peoples and to move it to be a conflict of the planet, the whole of the planet, the whole of humanity, 8 billion of us, and climate change. Because there is no enemy. The enemy would be the consequences of climate change. Hindi pwede kung nalulunod na lang tayo sa ganyan. That's the time we say, Carl, o nga pala, yung enemy nga pala ito.
Yeah. Parang ngayon nga nakalimutan mo because of it.
Ngayon, nalimutan yung climate change.
And can you imagine how much money they're spending for every missile they shoot? Yeah?
Tell me about it.
And how much trees can be planted out of these monies they're actually using, and they're willing to even raise and donate or make business of. No? Parang totoo naman. Probably it's just like this country, sabi nila wala tayong national agenda, we don't have one common vision, because if we have it, then everybody will actually join the bandwagon and be part of the solution rather than be part of the
We
country.
should not be Filipinos because patriotism and nationalism are bad words. We should be citizens of the world. The oneness with humanity. Yun ang tinuturo namin sa UP.
Yes.
You should be citizens of the world. Huwag na kayo magpapaputi-puti kasi yung skin color, that doesn't matter. Gender doesn't matter. LGBT. Ang haba-haba ng nakalimutan ko. Ito yun, yung LGBTQ. Yeah, these things don't matter. Yeah.
And the othering is such a bad word.
Yes, the othering, because when you do the othering, ibig sabihin, inferior yung other,
Mm.
di ba? It's really the inferiority part that really rankles, And sabi ko nga, alam mo nangyayari sa Amerika ngayon, Carl, hindi ba yung mga Asian, minsan dinuduraan nila, at tinutulak-tulak nila. Now the Asians are hitting back.
Yeah.
Pag tinuraan nila, dinuduraan din yung Pag sinipa nila, sinisipa din yung So, it's a very conflicted society. Buti na lang uwi na ako agad sa
Yeah. And
the best part about going abroad, pagbalik mo, mas mahal mo ang
mas
iyong-
mamahalin mo. Yeah, that's correct. And that's why, ang takeaway ko talaga today is, why don't we find a common enemy? I don't think US should be against China. It's actually all of us against the real problem of the universe, the real problem of the world, which is climate change and poverty. It's hunger. We're talking about education, we're talking about curriculum, we're talking about instruction, technology integration, but come on, our children are malnourished. And the mother, gave birth to a malnourished child already. How could the brain develop? No amount of curriculum can really educate a malnourished brain. I think that's a problem. And now we're talking of so many issues that's actually diverting us from what really matters in our conversation. I think this is what we're getting, all of us from here, from this. Yes, you would like to ask Professor Carlos.
I will ask a question, but I would like to have a short reaction. 2023 is declared by the United Nations General Assembly as International Year of Dialogue as a guarantee of peace. Most of us don't know about it. I think on the United Nations part as an NGO and the United Nations system failed about it. Second, sinasabi ni Professor Balita Carlos, side with humanity. This year, on December 10, we will be celebrating the 75th anniversary of Universal Declaration of Human Rights. That document should be known. Now for the solution, I would ask the very good professor here, and Dr. Carl Balita and Tikmi. The Universal Declaration of Human Rights will be on a Sunday, And napanood niyo ba yung post ni Sir Carl at Professor Carlos here regarding pagluluto ng dinding at pinakbet? I think if we will ask Professor Carlos here and Sir Carl Balita on December 10, we can have another gathering to invite the ambassador of China, the United States.
Alright.
Everybody, let's just keep quiet and silent and just eat dinding or go fishing sa lamesa daw.
Alright.
Maybe Dr. Carl, we can have a peace
Stage.
solution about it.
Tikbidini daw, nagpo-volunteer ng Tikbidini, we will host the dinner. Gawin natin yung panja, lagyan natin ng hito at saka tilapia. Tapos manghuli tayo. Yan, beautiful. And, Professor?
One of the best parts about going to the United Nations was finding out that my concept of national security as human security is the United Nations concept. That's why I was so well loved there when I presented that. And unfortunately, I received a lot of opprobrium when I moved away from the military construct of national security. Because national security is food security, energy security,
Education.
isn't it? Yeah. And by the way, I want to repeat, the concept of security in the Chinese cosmology is the woman inside the home.
Correct.
Which means the family is the source of the stability of the family. The Mandarin is the most conceptually clear. Ano yun those of you who write Mandarin, it's a woman inside the home. It's a concept of security from the Chinese cosmology.
Yeah, and
So thank you so much, United Nations.
Yeah, I should know because I was part of the circle of experts gathered by Dr. Carlos when she was National Security Advisor. There you can find scientists in one circle of table, a round table where we exchange never opinions, but evidences and data and empirical data at that, to really come up with something life-changing rather than just pushing for a personal agenda. It was a wonder, and we keep the experts group even as we speak now. We have a GC very active about anything, and where we never talk about opinions, but really science. No? Galing, galing. Yes, Professor. Assistant Dean.
Yes. Well, I have a question, ma'am, later on, but I'd like to resonate with your conclusion earlier that yung ating talagang kalaban ngayon, sinabi ni Sir Carl, ay climate change. In fact, the World Economic Forum sees that in the next 10 years, the global crisis of the climate change is really the top 10 among the global risks. And that one we have to address. And all these wars, yung pandemic na nangyari, all happening at the same time, you know, sabi ni Adam Tooze, nasa daw tayo, poly crisis ngayon. But in the end, coming here, I was really thinking about what really could be the role of the UN now. You know, and in terms of education, I think it's bringing in more conversations like this. I'm very happy to be here and honored because we're now talking about what can all of us do, each of us can do in order to at least be part of the solution. It's a grand thing to do, but I think as teachers, especially na, di ba?
Correct.
Paano na ngayon? Ang tanong ko ngayon is for a social science or rather a history teacher. What do you think should be a history teacher should be like now, at the moment?
Beautiful.
Ano na bang dapat ang itsura ng isang history teacher with all these things coming in? And you were talking about geopolitical, okay? And history is one aspect of social science. And the global crisis, the climate change is really transdisciplinary, right? So, who is now the history teacher? What do you think of that?
And it's beautiful. I want to cut this really for TikTok purposes. Who is the history teacher in our current times in the perspective of Dr. Carla? So by the way, I would like to tell everyone that this will be an immortalized conversation in social media of different platforms so that teachers can actually access it for conversations, to incite discussions in the classroom. Professor Carlos.
I think history is the mother of all social sciences. History is even the mother of the natural sciences. You cannot teach politics without going into kasaysayan. What I want the teachers here, not only history but any social science for that matter, is to look at the documents, and if the documents are clashing and colliding, then tell your students that there are different interpretations of something. You don't even know the answer. That is part of realpolitik. Now, geopolitics has changed because geography is really impinged into our human life. If you were born in Somalia, and if you were born in California, I'm sure you would grow up differently, isn't it? Where you are born already tells you what the future